It was a novella written by Truman Capote, and we optioned the rights, took them into Paramount. So we started what is usually called in the entertainment industry development hell and started developing the screenplay.
I love the screenplay, but I've loved a lot of screenplays that haven't made it. So I wasn't foolish enough to make that a part of my consideration for doing it or not. I would have done it if I had to crawl all the way up the Walk of Fame, you know. That was a big opportunity for me.
Audrey was under contract to Paramount. We just thought she would be wonderful in it. Paramount didn't think she would play it because she was such a kind of sweet and proprietary kind of lady that they didn't think she would play a part where a woman gets $50 to go to the powder room.
Certainly in her mind, and understandably so, it was a big jump from the Capote Holly Golightly to our film's Holly Golightly, and she just didn't know whether she could do that sort of thing.
I thought she did a wonderful job. I liked it because she was very naive, and it was like playing against that character. And I think that's what it takes to play that part and get away with it, you know?
I just told her I thought she would be absolutely great, not to expect her to be the Holly Golightly of Truman's book.
I don't even want to own anything until I can find a place where me and things go together. I'm not sure where that is, but I know what it's like. It's like Tiffany's.
You mean the jewelry store?
That's right. I'm crazy about Tiffany's.
Truman Capote originally visualized Marilyn Monroe in the part, and she probably would have been allowed to play the character as he had created her in the book, but they unfortunately wouldn't let Audrey do that.
You kind of would have expected Marilyn, who, you know, was very sexy, she was kind of obvious for the part, and so we thought we could do better. And when Audrey said she would do it, even though Paramount didn't think she would, that's how we got her.
I don't think that the majority of the audience in those days really ever thought of Audrey Hepburn as a hooker, as a call girl. I bet you they didn't even, when it was over with, they didn't even know. So $50 for the powder room? So she was an escort lady.
I found myself wishing that she could have done the part as written. People didn't know how earthy and how true to life Audrey was, how aware she was of whatever went on in the world.
But she took something which was one way and turned it completely into something else, up to the point that people forget what the film is really about. She was scared and happy and funny and delightful and spunky and emotional and solid.
Audrey Hepburn was a gift from God. I mean, she's just the loveliest, most gracious, darling, darling lady.
And I think it's a film that she's become so identified with, it's become a classic. When you talk of Audrey Hepburn, the first thing you think of is Breakfast at Tiffany's.
The first day of the film, we were shooting the first scene in the movie, which is when the taxi cab pulls up to the curb in front of Tiffany's at 57th and 5th Avenue.
Came the time to shoot, and it was as though God said, well, I'm going to give you a break now, but for the rest of your career, you're just going to have to live off of this one. And nobody appeared. No cars, no people. It was suddenly deserted. With the sweep of his hand, you know, C.B. DeMille wiped out the whole traffic situation, and we had our shot.
Do you mind if I just get in with you for a minute? It's all right. Really it is. We're friends, that's all. We are friends, aren't we?
George had a great physical presence. I think it worked well for the two. But he still had a lot of that innocence that I think made it attractive to her.
We liked each other as human beings. He admired me greatly, I found out, as a director, and what I did in that film. And I didn't want him in the movie. If you would ask me, and I hope you don't, that, you know, would I cast him now? I doubt I would. He just didn't have whatever it was that I wanted. He wasn't my cup of tea, and yet I loved him. We had great times.
Well, I want to tell you, I'd worked with him at the Actors Studio, and we'd gotten along superbly. I really loved him. I mean, he was divine to me and flirted with me, and it was so good, you know. And I was so thrilled to be doing this film with him. Well, he had been spoiled, and he wanted things as he wanted them. And I had dominated him a lot more in the script. And he didn't want to be seen in that condition.
I'll tell you what, Paul. I am a very stylish girl.
What are you doing?
Writing a check. Don't look so bewildered. Surely you've noticed me writing checks before. You're entitled to a vacation with pay.
We wanted somebody who was no nonsense, who could play that kind of, you know, strong, subterranean sexual role, which is what she does. And I don't recall we ever had any problem getting her to play the part because she was a fan of Audrey's, and it was a very good role.
You're Holly's father?
Her name ain't Holly. She was Lula Mae Barnes. Was till she married me. I'm her husband, Doc Golightly.
What can you say about Buddy? Buddy is Buddy. He's an old vaudeville hoofer. It was a brilliant bit of casting.
I don't know whether Buddy Ebsen was Blake's idea or whether it was the casting director's idea, but, you know, I remember he came and read the scene that they play on the part. We just heard, you know, 5 lines, and we all knew that was right.
Mr. Golightly, once again, I must protest. If you don't stop with that phonograph, right this minute, I'm going to go to the police department. Yeah, well, that's more better.
In spite of the fact that Blake was a very good friend of Mickey Rooney's, I don't think you would ever have cast Mickey Rooney to play a Japanese person. You'd have had a real Japanese actor, and I don't mind saying that at one point I wanted to replace him.
I didn't really think it out, and I'm not sure it would have changed my mind anyway. And certainly at that time when I did it, nobody criticized it. I thought it was perfectly okay. Looking back, I wish I had never done it.
Not my favorite part. Though I do, as I say, I think Mickey's a wonderful, wonderful actor.
And I would give anything to be able to recast it. But it's there, and onward and upward.